Katie, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me.
It's really interesting because that script to screen journey is really interesting to me. So you look at something like Speed Demon, you read the scripts, you get there, you start filming it, everything comes to life. I feel like horror movies, it's really exciting to get that kind of, when can we get there and start filming this after seeing everything on the script? What was that like for you specifically with this film, that script to screen journey?
It was certainly a journey. It is so, to your point, yes, incredible to read something. When it was sent to me, I read it to star in and produce, and then to bring it to life. It's a journey, but such a fulfilling one, and such a cool experience and fun experience, and a collaboration of like-minded people.
When did you start kind of noticing or figuring out, like, especially with indie film and everything, it is kind of like what you said, like you're wearing many hats, you're doing a lot of things. Like once you get there, it really feels like a community and a team sport in a lot of ways, right? Did you notice
Yeah,
that early on in your
absolutely.
storytelling career?
When it comes to indie filmmaking, not necessarily as much, because I haven't had. I mean, in more recent years, yes, I've been
Yeah.
more involved because I think it's important to create your own stuff and
Yeah.
your own content and material. And especially for me, I do believe like I'm here to tell story and bring people together through storytelling for the better of the world that we live in. And what better way to do it if you can do it yourself? And I was like, I can do this myself. I mean, not myself, but like I can
Yeah.
set out to do it and find the people who will help me bring it to life and have the same vision. And it's really fulfilling, and it's really special, and I'm honored to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, in the beginning of this interview, you said it was a journey, and I'm a filmmaker as well. So these are the things I kind of think about, right? Like you could look at filming something as two journeys, right? Before filming Speed Demon and after filming Speed Demon, or does it feel like one big storytelling journey with multiple steps in between for you?
One big storytelling journey with multiple steps,
Yeah, absolutely. Because
and made that
there's a
journey
beginning and an end, but I
continue.
feel like once you wrap it, like it's so funny because depending on when it comes out and everything, like you wrap this movie and then you're playing the waiting game until you're done with that journey, until that journey opens again, right? Like we're talking about this film, right? Like it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. It's a little like for me as an actor, it's a little bit of a head spin because I've moved on from that character,
Yeah,
at least for now. You
yeah,
never know if I'm going to see her again.
mhm,
But then, when we do press junkets or interviews or whatnot, when the movie's coming out, I have to sort of like wrap my head back around the character because I played several characters since.
yeah.
So it's sort of like a little bit of a mind twist, but it's fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much amazing things happening in horror films, but like recently, but just in general, like there's been so many amazing films, and I think there's been a really cool kind of moment where horror movies are having a real moment, but people are going back and seeing a lot of like past movies and hidden gems, right? And you've done a lot of those really amazing films. You know what I mean? Like Black Christmas, for example. I love that one. It's a show, but like Harper's Island is like one of my favorite. I remember like week to week watching that with my parents. Like that was an event. You know what I mean? So I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
ask you, like, what's it like working in the horror genre now and then working in it and then working it then? Like, what's that like for you and seeing kind of everything happening now in that genre?
To be honest, like there's not much difference as to then versus now. I mean, when you're talking about Harper's Island versus independent film, I mean, those are two different worlds because I was television, but
Yeah,
I loved Harper's Island. It was ahead of its time for sure.
it really was.
It's funny
Absolutely.
because Chris Gorham and myself and Matt Barr, we've been like, why don't we do a second season? And
Mhm.
here's how it here we already even have like how we do a second season and the pitch for it. Um, I don't know. I would love to revisit that. I just thought that was such a smart move,
Yeah.
or just like that whole, who did it, who's done it,
Oh, yeah.
and on our end, we didn't know who was going to be dying week to week. We didn't know who the killer was at all until they told Chris. Well, I won't say it I guess. Spoiler alert.
Well, you know, it's funny because
Um,
Chris and Brandon J. McLaren have both been on the show for other projects, and like I've brought it up to both of them like before because I just love that project so much. You know what I mean? So it's just
yeah, it was really fun. It was exhausting, but it was fun.
absolutely. I and then kind of getting back to Speed Demon. I mean, like how separate are past things compared to something like that? Like different worlds, but it is all storytelling. Like, do you bring mindsets or preparations from past worlds to something like Speed Demon, or are they completely separate once you wrap them?
No, they're completely separate. The way I work is I do script analysis and I build backstory based off that script analysis and I make it as full and detailed as possible. And then, my therapist says after I play a role, it's almost like you have to mourn that character and let that character go so that it doesn't mix or blend within your personal life.
Yeah.
Not to say like I don't mean to be so morbid by saying the death of that character, but it's sort of just like you put it to bed for the time until, maybe I have to do interviews or if there's a sequel.
Absolutely. And then last question as well, like just kind of the scale of things. You know, there's a lot happening in horror movies, you know, and like in the sci-fi world and superhero world. I mean, like what like is I guess like, you know, the scale of those things over time, you know, and like things like in the superhero world, like Arrow, like, do you feel like you really kind of like understand the fandom of those things? Like once you start going to conventions and seeing everything online, a lot of people kind of don't really pay attention to a lot of that stuff because it can get kind of intense. But it's like, is that really when you kind of see the impact of a lot of things like in the horror movie genre, but also in the
Oh yeah,
superhero culture? Yeah.
absolutely. The fans are amazing, incredible. And going to like a comic book convention and actually getting to meet them and learning what an impact you have on certain individuals and them coming and sharing that with you is really an incredible experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for people to see Speed Demon. It's going to be available in theaters and on demand on May 31st, so they can really check that out. You starred it, you also produced it. Thank you so much for your time. It was so great to chat with you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.